Alright, how's it going, boys? I had an idea for this video for a while now, and I was kinda playing with the idea of making some YouTube videos, just because I see a lot of people streaming, myself included, but I don't really see a lot of content on YouTube kinda breaking down strategies, and I think it's kinda missing, especially with a lot of new people coming in. So this is something that I want to try. It's obviously the first video that I'm gonna be making. Just made one take, but as a pro that I am, I had myself muted. So well done there. So take number 2. But yeah, with a lot of people streaming, it's kind of hard to tell what you should be doing. You get your build order, but you don't really know how to react, what decisions to make. So I wanted to cover this to give you like a structure to one of the build orders. This is a garg style with expansion. TeRRoR kinda convinced me to start playing it, and I love it. And I think compared to the style that, for example, Happy plays, leaves a bit more room for mistakes, just because that style that Happy plays revolves around a lot of timing attacks, and with those builds you generally need to be very precise and just hit at the right timing, not lose any units, have a very decent micro on top of it, especially if you play against Keeper, for example. So I wanted to show this because I think it suits more people like me that, you know, will drop the ball here and there, but it doesn't matter because it's not that big of a deal. As long as you remember some key points about this build. I'm gonna post the general build for this down below. So I'm not gonna cover like the super basics of when to build what, but I'm gonna touch only on the fact that if you want to play this style, I don't recommend, playing the TED opening, because you will not have enough ghouls, and also you won't have them early enough to gather enough lumber. And also you need quite a few, as you will see in this replay, quite a few ghouls to defend yourself, to creep the expansion and yeah, to hold it. So this is the opening that I think suits this style the most. I'm gonna speed up the beginning a little bit. Let it play out. Your Acolyte obviously wants to see whether or not your opponent is going for Demon Hunter or Keeper. If it's Keeper, you will probably harass a bit more, because you want to stop that level 3 that will abuse the fact that you have late Dispel and just, you know, harass you over and over. So against Keeper, you probably want to slow him down, but as we can see, Sonic is playing Demon Hunter in this game, so TeRRoR will proceed to just creep one of the camps. He's gonna pick up Rod. He doesn't bring all the ghouls, because you will want to go ahead and attack pretty quickly. Just gets this one green camp, and he will send the ghouls back. The reason why you don't want to be using too much is, again, you need the lumber. Around this time, you have perfect combination of resources to start attacking. At 6 ghouls, you want to start attacking, 22 supply, and while you're attacking, you will make one more ghoul. TeRRoR picks up, since he's not creeping anymore, he wants to start harassing. You want to bring some skeletons, your DK, start harassing. The more important part about this than getting any wisps is forcing this Demon Hunter back to his place, back to his home. You want to just as TeRRoR did, you want to ping most of the wisps once, and then coil. One hit and coil is enough most of the times. Sonic used the moon as well here. But as I said, this harassment is not that big of a deal against better players. You will probably not get much anyway, but what this achieves is this Demon Hunter is back home, while you are safe to clear this expansion. And obviously, depending on the map, this expansion is going to be harder or easier to creep. I know. So if you struggle with that, you can either pick up a staff of tele to your DK, and once you know that Demon Hunter is on this side of the map, you can staff to one of your ghouls and help them creep, or you can build more ghouls. You kinda need to fill it out yourself. Obviously, the more ghouls you use, the less money you will have after you finish your tier 2, so don't go too crazy, but don't feel trapped into the build order too much if it's not working for you. And also, if you have any problems, you can... I'm gonna post the links below to my Discord and my Twitch, and you can always contact me, and I can go over the replays that you have, and giving out some pointers if you struggle with this build, or I can always beg TeRRoR to do it for me if I don't know the answers. As you can see, TeRRoR continues pulling his demon on his side of the map while he's securing the expansion. Obviously, Sonic is a pretty experienced player, so he smells what's going on, and he's gonna go straight to this place. TeRRoR is trying to pull him back. He's not doing it, but he's like, well, there's not much I can do. I got level 2 from that creep. Let me continue harassment. Luckily, I do believe this still went to TeRRoR. I don't know how, but it still went to TeRRoR. He lost the item, but it's not the big deal. He's not gonna lose any ghouls in the process. And against most players on the ladder, you're not gonna see this. They will continue following your DK, draining your mana, trying to save their wisps. You're not really gonna experience this, but even though I chose this replay because I wanted to show a good opponent, show it that it works. He doesn't end up losing any ghouls, so it's all good. How many? 3, 6, 7 ghouls, as I said. TeRRoR continues to harass because honestly he doesn't have too much more to do. Behind this, Crypt, Cemetery, third Zigg. As I said, the build order will be down below. Speed it up. Just about... Okay, so he's finishing tier 2. He's trying to get a feel where his opponent is. He's kinda checking around. As you finish tier 2, you queue up your gargs. Found them here, by the way. You queue up your gargs, your acolyte. You go back home with staff or on foot, depending if you have that stuff. You get your dust, you have your rod, you get your skull. You continue making gargs, at least 4, and you go start setting up the expansion. Now the key part here is, you want these gargs to be on his side of the map as quickly as possible. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna get much done, but what you want to achieve is this army to move back to his base. Gargs want to force the archers to defend the wisps. Your DK wants to know where the Demon Hunter is. I'm gonna talk a bit more about that soon. But these are your goals. To set up your expansion, TeRRoR is using skeletons because he's, you know, pretty good, so constantly around the map. He sees his army, he knows his demon is pretty close to his expansion. Same for archers. He's trying to use the gargoyles to pull those archers back home. He sees the demon. Unfortunately, Sonic doesn't fall for it. That's why I chose this replay. He doesn't go back. He relies on his micro to save all the wisps against the 2 gargoyles. But most of the players that I face will take these archers, place them either here or here, try to protect the wisps, which will then buy you time to set up the expo, right? Previously I mentioned you don't want to use the ghouls too much. You want to have enough lumber for the expansion, for the towers, but also for this moment when you need them to defend. If you use them too much early on and then you pull them at this moment as well, you will just be running too low on lumber. All of the stuff that TeRRoR was doing was trying to pull Sonic back. It didn't work, but I will showcase that even that happened, he still will manage to hold this expansion pretty safely, pretty comfortably. I'm just checking if I have the video going. If your opponent as the archer is back and you are not under threat, you still need to know where the Demon Hunter is, because Demon Hunter solo can easily cancel this, and even though you have towers here, you get your expansion cancelled. That's costly. So when you see the demon of your opponent going towards your gold mine, you want to use the DK and the ghouls. I just selected in the wrong order, doesn't matter. You want to use these forces to surround the demon, or at least like force him away from the expansion so it can finish. Because once it's finished, it's safe. But in this game we can see that Sonic is a pretty aggressive boy, and he's just going all in attack. He even chose Naga over Panda or Alchemist, which in my opinion is the most aggression-based choice of hero. It's very strong early on, it has immediate impact. So this is pretty scary. This should be the worst case scenario. Like, we tried to buy time, we tried to pull the archers, it didn't work. But even though that happened, TeRRoR will still manage to hold this relatively easily. Sonic, small mistake with his archer, but what you wanna do with your ghouls is what TeRRoR is doing right now. 2 ghouls on this archer, these ghouls on this archer, these ghouls on this archer. The reason you wanna split that is easier to just select 2 units each and put them on each archer and just forget about them than it is to keep microing them back. Also, every archer that is microed is not putting out damage. If you imagine TeRRoR would go for this archer, yeah, he would probably kill it pretty quickly, but this whole force would start attacking with the arrow from Naga. You would trade ghouls for that. You would start like running low on your units. So you want to split them. As you can see, Sonic is struggling to control all this because it's very, very hard. 1 archer gone, you have your dust that you bought previously, and suddenly this army is like not existent. The heroes are back, but you have the tower coming up, you have the gargs. If the huntress show up, obviously gargs go on huntresses because of the piercing damage. Ghouls on archers, and that's how you defend it. And from there, you just kinda try to get second tower, especially if your opponent is not counter-expanding, to make sure you're safe. One mistake that TeRRoR did here, he kinda let these heroes live. He pulled all of his forces, so it allowed Sonic to, what I said previously, just use his Demon Hunter to right-click on a gold mine and cancel it. So be careful of that demon. Don't underestimate its power, because if he just right-clicks and the expansion goes up, doesn't matter, you have towers. You don't have the extra economy coming from it. From there, you just continue making acolytes and gargs. You don't really want to early over lich against Demon Hunter, because he's not gonna be that useful. You're gonna get 1 Nova off, and then he's just gonna be a superior garg, way more expensive. You just stay on solo DK for a while at least. You want to also stay on 50 supply for a long time, especially if your opponent's counter expands. But even if he doesn't, you want to stay on gargs, just continue making gargs until you are 45 supply, because you're gonna, with the acolytes and the gargs, you're gonna get up to 45 supply. Even if you lose a couple of ghouls, obviously you replace them with gargs. And then you get lich up to 50 supply, and you stay on that force. Your next stage should be getting upgrades, attack upgrades for your gargs, and going up to tier 3, getting orb for your lich, setting up double slaughterhouse, getting a couple of abominations. The desired army composition against dryads and bears is 12 gargs with +2 upgrades to one-shot giants. Unless they have upgrades on armor, then +3 is probably necessary. You want to be able to one-shot dryads. Then you have a couple of abominations with Disease Cloud to tank. Your 2 heroes, and then not Frostworm, because I know that a lot of people will already get excited. Frostworm generally is not that great, and the problem with Frostworm is that it doesn't give you Dispel. So you want to go for 2 statues, 1 Destro. Destro is cheaper, you can get it from slaughterhouses, just like abominations, so it's just easier to get them, and it counters TeRRoR and rejuve. And heroes on high level, especially since you don't have much map control with this composition, yes, you see what's going on and you can harass, but you can never directly engage until you're ready. So your opponent will be free to creep. So you need to balance your harassment with creeping well, so you don't end up in a situation where your opponent gets the whole map, right? And high-level heroes with rejuve can be pretty scary, so Destroy is the way to go. And if they get too many bursts, you can just unlock yourself from 80 supply to 90 with a Ziggurat, get a couple statues. I get free and then I turn one into Destroy, but you can just get more Destroyers that way. Right before the fight, you turn them and then you deal with the bursts. Gargs go on the Dryads. You use your scrolls to keep the gargoyles alive. And yeah, from there it's pretty much straightforward. As long as you set up the expansion, I think it's a pretty good place to be, especially if they are aggressive and they fail to delay it. As you can see, Sonic is doing an excellent job, even though he got pushed back. TeRRoR is not doing a perfect job defending this with his ghouls, but you know, at this level, it's very easy to, like, you know, point out mistakes, but there's a lot of going on. So yeah, that's pretty much the point that I wanted to stop at. Let me know if this is the format that you are interested in and whether or not I should make more videos, because I have some replays of my own that I played this style against pretty high level players on the ladder. Also, I have couple of replays against Keeper with this style, which plays out slightly differently, that I could cover. I could go more in depth into the late game composition, how it looks like, even though I mention it. But I could cover this, then I could move on to some other matchups and stuff like that. So give me some feedback, don't be too harsh, because as I said, this is the first video that I'm gonna be uploading, and give me as much feedback as you can. And that's gonna be it. Thanks guys, bye.